Peace. This is A and B, African man born on the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it. Let's get into it.
I am hip-hop culture, predator the vultures. Rappers getting high, spitting lines, I be sober. Never need an entourage, partner who holds us down when I come around. Massachusetts soul child, say me in your masu. Knowledge will surpass you. Silly rap crews, walking shady as they move. I am the God man, I be living in the proof. I be teaching all the youth on the elements they use. Turn the television off, all the government is plotting on our sons, and we disrespect our daughters as we living in the slums, and we stay.
Peace. This is A and B, African man born on the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it.
Make decisions like a grown man and plan my future up for the unity to take it over. Gather everyone. This is who I am as I'm representing hip hop. I will take a stand while I'm representing hip hop. Gotta be my best as I'm representing hip hop. God in the flesh as I'm representing hip hop. This is who I am as I'm representing hip hop. I will take a stand while I'm representing hip hop. Gotta be my best as I'm representing hip hop. God in the flesh as I'm representing hip hop.
Peace. This is A and B, African man born on the Culture Speaks, a true hip hop podcast for those who live it. All right, real quick, we're gonna get into the to this episode. Right, we're gonna get into the N-word and vulgarities. The N-word and vulgarities. All right. The reason why I'm getting into this is because it's been a big thing over the years about hip hop and how we use the N-word and we use vulgarities in our music, and it's been a big thing where, you know, people like Will Smith who won Grammys didn't have to use the N-word or didn't have to use vulgarities, which he has used vulgarities in recent music that he's done, but he does movies that express the same N-words and vulgarities that he don't seem to use. And then when we talk about the N-word, we talk about N-I-G-G-E-R or N-I-G-G-A or whatever you want to call it, right? I use it in my music as well, and I'm not going to sit here and be a judgmental person around it, and I'm not going to sit here and say what you should do or what you shouldn't. It's not my place. But what I will say is there's many different reasons why we should pay attention and be under control with the use of these words and the use of vulgarities, especially when you are growing into the music game, growing into the culture. We got to start thinking before we speak. A lot of times we rhyme with vulgarities into another vulgarity usage of word. You know what I'm saying? So what that means is when hip hop came about into the music industry, there was a notion where freedom of speech became the biggest thing. So around the mid to late 80s, you have a lot of music, a lot of rappers that started to do a lot more swearing in the music, a lot more cursing in the music. Now this strikes the older folks as a problem because in their music, it's said that they don't really need to use vulgarities in singing. Well, understand this. In music history, not music industry, whatever I was going to say, in music history, there's always been outlandish behavior. Rock and roll, R&B, funk, the way they dress, the way they sexualize themselves and others. This has been going on for a long time. Music expresses these things. Hip hop has become in the beginning, it was more rebellious and trying to change things till it got to a point where we're trying to make money, and then we get to a point where we try to be the most rebellious. Hip hop is a rebellious culture. It goes on the principles of being yourself. If you're not true hip hop, if you're not being yourself. So when you're talking about vulgarities, we all use them. And we all understand that there's energy that flows through each word, each tone, each frequency. So me personally, I can tell you from personal experience, I use that word a lot in my music, especially in my older music, and even all the way up until this album that's coming out now. But I'll say this much: I've done a lot of cleaning up on how, when I write a song, I try not to use a lot of vulgarities like I used to when I'm in my 20s. I try to clean up on words that I use, the N-word, and limit it to I don't use it anymore. Some people say, well, that's not good enough. It's good enough for me. You're not going to tell me how to shape my music. You know what I mean? You're not going to tell me how to move, especially when it comes to expression. Now, understand, I get that there's right and wrong and all of that, and I do get it. I think that we should think before we use words. I think that we should think before we put out content. I think we should think before we even get involved in conversations where your vocabulary is not as fluent. And I think that when you're putting music out, you also have to understand that music is a energy booster, downer, all these things. Music can change the frequency and the mindset of people all across the world. And if you have marketing that pushes the overuse of sexuality, marketing that overuses that pushes the overuse of the N-word, all right, marketing that overuses the image and vocals of violence. When you have music that doesn't show you responsibility, when you push music, then what happens is there's an agenda to keep that frequency going. So now you got to think, why is there so much vulgarity in music? Why is there so much use of the N-word in music? Why is there so much use of B's and H's, bitches and hoes? Why is there so much use of negativity in music if we're supposed to be seeking positive results in our communities? It's because people don't want positive. And I'm not talking about the people that are listening to the music that's buying. The consumers are just y'all the slaves. We're talking about the ones that run the record labels, who they say control hip-hop. No one controls hip-hop. Hip-hop itself is a culture. You only control the music industry part, which is rap music and DJing, if that. Rap music and DJing is used the most from the culture to push messages. So therefore, the message, if it's negative, it seems to get all types of airplay. If the message is not negative, it seems to be ignored by every radio station, podcast, or social media or media outlet out there. So we got to understand that when you see the overuse of the N-word in songs, and then those songs, all they do is take them out for the radio, or you see a video and they showing you all types of nakedness and all types of violence, but then you know where these words are being used. You know where the F word is, you know where the S word is, you know where the N word is, you know where all of these different words are being used because you hear it being edited. But at the same time, you can get the album on iTunes, album on Spotify, album on Tidal, the album on every just major platform, and you can get on their website, or you're going to get the raw version where you're hearing all of these different words, all of these different expressions, all of these different negative uses of the N-word. I tell people, if you don't want to hear it, don't buy it. Don't download it. Don't listen to it. If you see that parental advisory sticker, don't listen to that version. Listen to the positive version if they put a version out. You see what I'm saying? Be a smart consumer, because they're not going to stop using that. I know people want to get the dictionary and take it out of the dictionary and get the government involved and say make it outlawed to use the N-word. You're not going to get that, because there's an agenda being pushed that will, you know what I mean, that they want. So therefore, Nubian folks in particular have to start taking responsibility for what they're putting out and what they're consuming. You don't even need to have a town meeting for this. I don't understand why people are making such a big fuss out of this. If you don't want it in your system, then don't make it available for you to consume. Which means, even if like someone like me, don't put me on a pedestal. Don't put rappers and singers on a pedestal these days. What you do is, if you don't want to hear it, don't listen to it. You know what I'm saying? I think that if you're gonna try to shut down words like that, and I'm not knocking anybody that does, I think certain words should be like, no, not used. But at the same time, you're dealing with people, and you know, some of us are cuss buckets, man. And at the end of the day, you can't stop somebody from using the word, but you can help limit the support of those that push negative energy through our children, because these are the ones that's going to be affected the most. I came up in an era where it switched from no curses in rap music to a little bit of curses in rap music to a full out bloodbath of curse words. Then it got progressively worse over the years, because the music industry found a way to keep the music ignorant. So understand that that is a long battle, because you got to eliminate the personality that comes with the word. If you don't like the N-word, well, we got to eliminate the personality in our communities through our children. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, black people need a reset button in this society, from America all the way to Africa, to South America to North America. We need a reset button, because we've been so indoctrinated and so fooled and so tampered with and so beat down that everything that we're being faced with is a problem. And the only problem is us, because we continue to fall for the monotony. So when I hear that we have a problem with the N-word and vulgarities, then we got to stop supporting it in order for it to actually leave. If you know that you know, like 100,000 or 200,000 or even 200 million people are listening to you, and they're only listening to you for the negative content that you push out, then you got to understand, once you can stop giving them what they want on that level, they're not going to support you. Not 200 million followers, not 200 million fans. Absolutely not. It's not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying that you should shape yourself for fans. I think music is personal. I think music is spiritual. I think music makes us the calm beings that we can be at times. So don't get discouraged because people don't want to hear you, but also understand that growth comes responsibility. Growth comes with responsibility. You heard that in Spider-Man many times. If you ever read a Spider-Man comic book, or you watched the show or the cartoon or whatever the hell the case may be, you've heard that term before. With great strength or great power comes great responsibility. As you get older, you get stronger mentally if you are in tune with yourself. And with that comes great responsibility. We gotta take responsibility for our actions in music, in culture, in life. Hip-hop is a way of life. So when you say rap and hip-hop music, I don't understand you, because hip-hop is a way of life. Rap is the music. And what I know about rap music, that it comes from the term MCing. MCing deals with content-driven material. When you can go on that stage and translate a content-driven message, now it's like, hey, that's an MC right there. That dude got bars. Some rappers got bars, some rappers don't. But a lot of rappers are into music, business, and money. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I believe in taking people out of poverty. I would never knock anybody, whether you're white or black, for taking yourself out of poverty. If this is what you can do to take yourself out of poverty, do that shit. You know what I mean? But understand, when you put out a message, it comes with responsibility. Whether you see yourself as a role model or not, once you touch that mic and touch that stage and touch those fans, you are a role model. Now, what role do you play? Now, as far as me, I can tell you the role I play. I do this as a teaching mechanism, a tool. So, as I grow, my message grows, and my boundaries become more broad. Not more broad in the sense of like it's become more broad where I take responsibility for not using certain words and not speaking a certain way. I'm not even on that street shit like I used to be. You know what I mean? Will I fight? Absolutely. But am I gonna give you something to talk about murder so these kids can actually repeat that shit? Absolutely not. I'm gonna give you a direction of fighting the beast, fighting the devil within, fighting the evil within. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't want to spend too much time on this episode with that subject. But the moral of this Culture Speaks episode is we have to take responsibility for our growth within rap music, within DJing, within graffiti MCing. You know what I'm saying? Like, for those who like to do graffiti on the wall, just understand that you get caught doing that shit in the city, in whatever city you're from. I'm from Boston. You do that, it's called vandalism. I work for the city, on top of owning my own businesses, but I work for the city where I take illegal graffiti off. Graffiti was illegal when it first started really surfacing in the late 60s, early 70s. And I don't think that was the earliest, to be honest with you. I think it was earlier than that they was doing that. You know what I'm saying? And this is why, like, it was illegal. And then now we're like over 50 years of hip hop. If you think about all of the, you know, we're 50 years of hip hop, really, if you talk about 74 to 2024. But when you're talking about graffiti art, and that's considered vandalism to the city. What you should do, if you have a talent in graffiti, a talent in spray painting, art, spray painting art and all that, do like what my man Pro Black is doing. Do what my man, Sobek is doing. For those who are in Boston, you know who both of those people are. Pro Black and Sobek. They're graffiti artists. They're artists, but they get funded because we're in a day and time where we don't have to do it illegally anymore. You know what I mean? Ciphers are not really illegal anymore. Setting up your turntables out, it's not legal, man. We can get those permits and things to do those things now that we have an understanding that there's a business behind us. But understand that you can actually do these things legally, where companies like the graffiti division of Boston won't take your shit down because people don't like it. It doesn't matter if people don't like it if you have authorization to go in a building and paint a mural. Graffiti art can be a mural now, but you got to take the proper steps, just like I took the proper steps to get my music published, to get my music under my label and get the LLC going and start my own publishing company on top of having an ASCAP. You know what I'm saying? These are things that you do when you want to make sure that you're legit. We live in a society where we have to be legit. I'm not saying to back down for certain things. I'm not saying that what they're doing is not ignorant. What the government does in many different ways is ignorant, and the positions that they put us in to be assimilated into a culture, yes, it's ridiculous. Yes, there's so much stuff, even with the music industry stuff, which I'm going to do on the next Culture Speaks episode. I'm going to talk about how to get your money on so many different ways, and I'm still learning, right? And that's not going to be a long episode. But I want y'all to take in consideration what you're doing. And we got to take responsibility for our actions, for our deeds, and represent the culture in a balanced way. So with that being said, man, this is Dr. A&B African Man Born on the Culture Speaks. All right? A true hip-hop podcast for those who live it. I'll see you on the next episode of the Culture Speaks. Peace.